if you feel it's difficult, go and check with some meditation technique before you start writing. You can also do everyday little mindfulness exercises to put you in the mindset to be a writer. And when you start researching, even that, make sure that you do this with intention, because if you don't do this, you are never going to finish your first draft. Hello everyone, I am Anna, the founder of Birdhaus Writing and Publishing. Today we are going to talk about writing and finishing your first draft and how to make sure that you are not lost in some rabbit hole as described as the research. So today the focus for me is to provide you with very clear guidance on how to finish your first draft and how to make sure that you don't lose yourself into the research, because this is often what happens the first time for the first time writers, that they think that they need to research so much. So let's start. The first thing that I want to share with you is that the best way to write is always have an intention when you sit down on your computer. So in other videos, I have shared with you how to overcome the insecurities and to make sure that you keep writing. So today for me is more about what are the techniques to make sure that you focus on your writing. The first thing that I always recommend is while you are creating a moment in your calendar for your writing or for your book, because first of all is writing, but then is going to be editing and other activities. But whenever you crave this moment in your calendar for your book, you need to have an intention. So never approach your computer or your file without knowing what you want to do, because this is the perfect recipe for the writer's block, which is not a writer's block. It's basically lack of guidance and lack of clarity. So whenever you decide to make time in your calendar for your book, I recommend you maybe 20 minutes prior to this to really think about what do you want to do. It's the moment that you want to write, meaning that you need to put words down. Maybe you want a word count. Maybe you want to put like 500 words or 1000. It's a moment when you need to edit your book, and meaning that you need maybe to talk, okay, I will edit a full chapter or 10 pages. Or is a moment where you think, I need to research because I finished my first draft and there are plenty of elements that I have to include and I don't know the details. So now it's time for the research. Whatever the topic or the intention, you need to be clear. And when you sit down, you take a moment to center yourself, close your eyes, and create this intention in your head. I always recommend this because if you don't do that, it's open door for browsing around without intentions or start typing without even knowing where you want to go. Writing with intention is the best way to make sure that you use the time that you have allocated for your book in the best way. The second element that I want here to focus is I also am a big fan of meditation and mindfulness. In my case, when I work with writers, I recommend them to start with some meditation techniques before writing. So take a moment, ground yourself, put both feet on the floor, and then start breathing deeply. There is no need to go too esoteric on meditation. It's really about having a 1 or 2 minutes of full mindfulness and making sure that you are present. I don't know when you are going to write. It can be early mornings when your head is fresh, but it can also be late in the evening after a full day of event and your head maybe is not in the good space for writing. But if you have decided that is the best moment for you, I recommend you to sit down and take a couple of moments to breathe through and focus on your breathing, and then start focusing on your book goals and your own goals. Remember the motivation that you decided for yourself. Remember the audience that you want to talk to. Remember the outline. Maybe the goal of this writing session is to craft your outline. Whatever the intention, take a moment to focus and deep breathing, and then start what you wanted to do. This is so important to make sure that your head is in the right headspace to move on with this project. When you start writing or researching or editing, you can always put a time. If you wanted only 30 minutes, do that. So you can put a timer there and say, okay, this is my time. If the timer clicks and you want to continue, go ahead. But if you feel like it is difficult, especially at the beginning, the timer, it helps you to focus on the time and say, okay, I allocate 20 minutes, 30 minutes for this. I need to achieve something. This is my intention and I need to achieve that. With the time, you are going to understand within the time frame that you have allocated for yourself, how many words you can put down or how many pages you are able to edit or how many elements you can research. This is going to come with the time, but the fact to have an allocated time and a timer for that will help you be focused and make sure that you finish. And at the end of all those sessions, check what you have achieved. It's important that you see your progresses because the progresses are going to fuel your motivation. And if you see that after a couple of sessions that you do this, you are not really doing progresses, maybe it's the time to rethink where is the best moment to write. Where are you? When? The conditions. If you see that what you have set for yourself is not working, change it. Change the location, change the length, maybe change from morning to evening, evening to morning, or maybe lunchtime. Or maybe in the middle of the morning when you see, okay, this is always this half an hour I can dedicate to that. So change it and make sure that whatever the moment you find is going to enable you to do the best. When you are writing the first draft, which also I call it sometimes the vomit draft, but when you are writing this, the advice is always to not read back. I always say, go write. And after you have finished your first draft, then it's the moment for your first self-editing. And even that has an intention. So when you start writing your first draft, it's going to be raw, it's going to be horrible, maybe verbose, maybe you are going to repeat yourself, especially at the beginning. Just keep working on it and keep doing it. May put an intention there and then focus on the writing only and never go back and start editing while you haven't finished your first draft. Also, recommendation here, do not start research while you're writing your first draft. The research needs to come prior and after. If you are an expert on the field that you are writing, you should not need research to put down your first draft. This comes later on. And this is why also the intention needs to be clear, because if you start with the writing and say, no, now I need to research this part, then you are going to interrupt your flow. So the intention needs to be clear when you approach your computer. And if the intention is, I need to research those data, that information, that description, that book, then let it be. But then it needs to be concise, and in this moment and the next session you do something else. The aim of this first part is always to finish your first draft. So make sure that when you write with intention, you have everything down, you have all your to-dos, you know exactly your 3 pillars, who is your audience, what is your brand, and also what is your outline. When you have everything under control, you can then do those sessions with intention. If you feel it's difficult, go and check with some meditation technique before you start writing. You can also do everyday little mindfulness exercises to put you in the mindset to be a writer. I will do a different video for this. And when you start researching, even that, make sure that you do this with intention, because if you don't do this, you are never going to finish your first draft. I hope this video helped you to come along and then giving you some really good advice on how to keep writing and how to make sure that you finish your first draft. I hope to see you soon. If you want more information about how to write and publish the book, We have a free masterclass with the birdhaus.ch. And if this is not enough, you can always enroll in the online course, which provides you step-by-step guidance on how to write and publish the book with clear exercises, a workbook, and also some case study that you can learn how to do the best out of your book. I hope to see you soon, and good luck with your book.